for a proper arrangement. But now, here and now, the government has lifted the ban on social distancing and all that, and the church must go back. We must be happy, whether it's the Muslims, whether it's the Christians. That one I can bet you, everybody is happy. There is joy, there is excitement. I think for the president, as I know him, it's a relief. I'm not sure he was very happy that the churches were locked down. It wasn't his fault. It was the COVID and all that. But I'm sure everybody is happy, from the presidency to all the political leaders. Everyone, we go to church by and large, and everybody should be happy. But now, working through the arrangements is the tall order. Opening the church is one thing, but making sure that there are no breaches, there are no infractions, there are no challenges, the right things are done, to demand a lot of effort, my brother. To demand a lot of effort. That's where we are now. So we'll put that behind us and look at how that can be done.
Right. So at this point, I'm thinking about the practicality as well. Mm-hmm. So already we have the limitation of 100 maximum. In fact, what the president said was that 25% of the congregation can attend at a time, but the maximum number that 25% should be is 100, up to 100 congregants. That's what he said. So in essence, if you have a smaller church and your congregants are not up to 100, that does not mean you can have them all in church at the same time. You can have 25% of them, but the maximum that 25% can be is 100.
So I think let's go back. I guess from what I said, we may be going in the same direction. If you have a 100-member church, I guess it's straightforward. Wouldn't it mean all of them can come to church? Is that what it means?
Well, the president says no. He says that it should be a maximum of 25%. And that 25% cannot be more than 100.
Regular attendance.
That's right.
COVID.
That's right. 25% of your membership.
Okay.
Yes, but it cannot be more than 100 persons. That 25% cannot be more than 100. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So now I'm thinking. Yes. So Bishop, I'm thinking, if you decide to have, say, a number of services in the morning. So after the first 100 are done, you have to bring in a second 100.
Yes.
They all have to wash their hands of a minimum of 20 seconds each. You're looking at no less than 33 minutes just to have your people wash their hands. So generally, how much of a burden is this going to be compared to the reward of being able to have service?
Oh, I think for believers in the spirit of Christ, is shared joy for us to come together. The Bible tells us, forsake not the assembling of ourselves. And so except for this pandemic, folks generally will be happy. But I guess we should also come to the recognition of the fact that by and large there will be a whole lot of people who may not be in a hurry. So that should also allay your fears. And when you talk to folks, there's a certain lack of keenness to immediately hit church. Apart from the older folks and the vulnerable groups, I don't think some would also like to immediately bring their kids to church when they are not sure what the protocol arrangements are. So it's a staggered opening. We'll look at it, work with all the arrangements that the president has put in place, a very laudable thing, and then we will work with it. But I don't think we can sit here right now when we have not stepped into the door to give immediately clear understanding of how it's going to pan out. I don't think so. It's not fair to do that. There'll be a target opening. Are we going to bring the children immediately? Will the vulnerable groups come in? Will the older groups come in? What do we do with physical distancing? Will we do smaller social gathering and all that? Are we going to meet only in particular specialized groups in the church? How about churches that have other rooms? We have, for instance, we have other adjoining buildings. What are we going to do? All those things, we have to look at them. The instruction doesn't come out clearly. But we work with what we have on the ground, and I believe God will help us. But we will learn on the road. Definitely, I don't think the understanding is that there will be no mistakes made, there will be no infractions. But nobody, I think, will deliberately go out to try to defy anything the government said. Yes.
How about PPE? Is it going to be the policy of the church to provide PPE for your members during service?
For all I know, speaking for Action, I can't speak for others, but for my Archbishop, for instance, well before this announcement came by the President, he has met the select groups in the church, particularly those who work in the health sector, and several arrangements have been made in the last few weeks prior to the present announcement, and some groundwork has been done. So those logistic arrangements are already in place. Maybe we just have to have them. That will come out of the meeting we'll have with the Archbishop this afternoon. I will know exactly what it will be. Mm-hmm. But he has called out the health service leaders, of workers in the church, doctors, nurses, medical personnel, and I've had a select meeting, a particular meeting with them on exactly what the game plan will be and arrangements, particularly for our church, and that has already been done. So opening the church right now should not be a surprise. We should have readied ourselves. I'll be sad if any church just is taken by surprise. That would be unfair. It's unfair to the members and to the leadership of the nation, because we have been home for so long. And we know it's only a matter of time the church will be open. So what have we been sitting home doing? If we just sit up and say, oh, I've been taken by surprise, I'm now going to put my lot together. No. Our homework has been done already. So now it's just to apply whatever we have set on paper.
All right. You mentioned earlier that there is an expectation that perhaps a few mistakes might be made since this is uncharted territory.
You don't think that is possible?
Oh, I haven't asked the question yet. I was simply repeating what you said. That there might be a few mistakes along the way because this is uncharted territory.
But we are saying that is possible. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what you're telling us. My question is, in the United States, after the president declared that churches were providing essential services, several churches opened. And several people got COVID-19. In fact, in one church, over 100 people got coronavirus.
Yeah, I've read in other countries.
Yes, many churches have had to close down after opening up. So my question to you is, as church leadership, if you were to open up and if mistakes are to be made and people are...
We have inserted a clause,
God forbid, okay. So God forbid, but in case it happens, like you anticipate that mistakes can happen, if people get infected in your church, what level of responsibility will church leadership take for that?
Well, that would be difficult. We hope not. And I've inserted the clause that all things being equal, God helping us doing all the right things, that will not happen. But you have cited a case in point. I think I read one in Italy, one in Germany, and elsewhere, yes, where the reopening created other unexpected contingencies and problems. Leadership takes responsibility, isn't it? It's a prize that comes with being a leader. We'll do all things that we should. But sometimes on your blind side, you are going to deal with people who don't think the way you see. People want to do business as usual. They think church is what it used to be. You have children eventually coming in. All the possibilities. A leader can have his eyes in all the places. Even when you have done everything you should, something sometimes goes wrong. We hope not. We hope not by the grace of God. We'll factor in prayer as a major component. But all the things that the presidency and the leadership have asked us to do, God willing, we'll do them. And we hope the scenario you have painted will not happen here. And save all of us the trouble.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Marcus in Ashalibuchi wants me to ask you. He says, could you please ask Bishop Sir, if people in the congregation get COVID-19, will the men of God simply heal them there and then?
Would we do what? Heal them?
Yes.
Healing is God who heals, I guess. That's what the Bible says in Acts chapter 10, verse 30. It's God who heals. There's no place where anybody heals anybody. It's God through His Son Jesus. We will pray for them. I don't think we will shy away from it. It's part of our calling. We'll pray for them. But I think, like everything else, some healing has target. So if the guy checks out immediately, it doesn't mean he hasn't been freed from it. We'll pray for him and leave the rest to God.
So I guess the question is, do you believe that you can heal those who get COVID-19?
Oh, we'll pray for them and we'll believe God for them to be healed. I guess that's what he's asking, instead of running away from them.
Now, so let's talk about some timelines. The first service is supposed to be this Sunday, or do you anticipate having any sort of events or services before Sunday?
No, I don't think so. My Archbishop won't do that.
Okay.
He follow really what the government has set out.
Right, and then after Sunday, will you resume your normal?
Long enough, so there's no hurrying about this.
Yes. So after Sunday, will you then resume your normal sort of weekly programs of Bible study and so forth that happen during the week?
I think we all come to a certain understanding that there's a certain staggered approach. Can you imagine? We've been home almost 3 months, and it's going to take time even to crank the members back into action or into full service, get them to do all the things they used to do. So it will be a gradual warming up into all the services. And I think, like every good leader, there will be a certain strategic arrangement of looking on the road, do some environmental scanning of how the service is going and how people are responding. And then our response mechanism will be based on how things pan out. But I don't think we can sit here right now and give a foolproof revelation of everything that will happen. That would be unfair. Because we've been home for 3 months. Churches, vehicles haven't been running, people haven't been coming to church. How are we going to do praise and worship? Our offering is going to be taken. We will learn on the job, taking into account all the systems and the protocols the government has put in place. I wouldn't think it would be an easy road to travel. But the church leadership will do the best it can to save, yes, all the parties involved.
I know we've run out of time, but I'm going to ask this really quickly, specifically for action. What are the timelines? When will your members be informed of the new processes and modalities and so forth?
Yes, I wouldn't take anything out of the Archbishop. He's going to have a meeting with us today. But I think for the flock at large, the announcement the President made, it's in the public domain. And so folks will be now looking at the church. What is the Archbishop going to say? What is leadership going to say? And I think we have outlets for information, social platform sources, other means of informing our membership about our way forward. And I think the Archbishop will do that. And then we can all go home happy.
Right. I've got another question here from Paul, who's listening. He says, please ask Bishop Sir if a church like his will do selective calling of congregants. I think this is about the 100 people per service.
Is he implying that selective calling to bring them to church?
I guess that's what he means.
Oh, you couldn't get him to clarify.
Yes, it's a text message, so we'll see if he can.
About the question, there's some ambiguity. They're calling them to jog them into service. Hey, Charlie, can you come to church? Or is it because we are doing follow up? What do you speculate is the intention of the question, please?
Well, he's typing as we're speaking. I don't know if he'll be able to finish typing before our time is up. It sounded like he meant, are you going to select members to attend by calling them? Yeah, that's. He's actually said.
Circumstances, folks independently come to church on their own, and then we put out adverts, we invite people, we do all the things we do in the past. The church itself has changed slightly in these ways. When we get back to regular church service, then I think we'll be able to find out some of the underlying differences that must be put in place. But if 100 people, like in the past, 100 people show up at church, we'll guess it's a first come, first serve basis. These are the 100 people who have come. And if we do a head count, we must commence a service with the 100 people. I guess under normal circumstances, that's what must be done.
What would happen to the rest of them congregating outside then? I mean, will they not be at risk of, getting too close to each other and spreading?
I don't think so. I don't think so. You realize that Sunday, God willing, will be the first service, and we'll really have a proper understanding of how. I don't think anybody outright can speculate exactly how it's going to be. But every church from this moment is going to put out social distancing arrangements, physical distancing arrangements, the various protocols, the Veronica buckets, the sanitization that the President spoke about, in addition to all the things about taking down register of names, the 1-hour service, fumigation, disinfection, which all these things our church, Action Chapel, has done, the wearing of masks. Well, I think we have folks at the gates to ensure that all these arrangements that the president has spoken about we put in place so that we are not seen as not doing what's right.
How about the car parks? That's where most people congregate first. They see their friends and loved ones, they park next to each other, come out of cars, and, is there any plan to regulate activity in car parks?
I am not today, but even for Action, we've gone ahead. Archbishop put or the speakers on the premises, and you could hear the sound blaring, giving instructions and playing music and playing tapes, messages. And so I believe that would influence the decision making of how people respond. I believe when we up our game on that aspect of it, we'll have a lot more speakers on the car parks. I've seen some in places in America where members were even in their cars, and the pastor was standing at the entrance of the church preaching and to fulfill all righteousness. The members were in their cars listening to the messages, and then they gave their offerings and drove away. It's like a drive-by church service or drive-in church service. Very interesting, very innovative. So I believe we'll put a lot of speakers out there, give information about how people should congregate, interact, and fellowship so that we don't solve one problem and create a new one.
We appreciate your time ever so much. Bishop James Sarr is the Senior Bishop at Action Chapel International. God bless you, Bishop.
And God bless you, my brother.
So that starts to paint a bit of a picture of what's on the mind of church leadership, at least at one church. Winston, I wonder, is this helping you to review your decision on whether or not to go?
Well, you've asked a very important question when it comes to reviewing decisions. But you see, one thing the president did is to tell all of us that, okay, so these restrictions have been eased. Now the decision lies with you. Okay, so it is no longer you cannot go, but it is a case of you deciding, Kojo, whether you want to go or not. And the health minister said something the last time he spoke to all of us. He said, COVID-19 is going to stay with us for a very long time. It's going to live with us for a very long time.
Yeah.
The choice now is ours, you and I. So your life is in your own hands, okay? And you would have to decide what you want to do with it. Yes, the churches can open, but would you go to church is a decision you have to make. And so, I mean, I like the fact that Bishop James Sarr has talked about how they prepare to make things work. You raised a very important point about, if we were to say, for instance, okay, a number of Veronica buckets, how many of them are going to be around the churches? Who determines the number of persons who have come in? Could there be an instance where somebody says, I want to hurry up and beat the, number so that I become part of the first 100, and a lot of people congregate at the church? That is a possibility. Okay, 1 hour. What is it that can be done within 1 hour? Will there be praise and worship, in going for offertory? How is the church going to go about all of these things? Can you also decide to stay at home and monitor from your church platform and say, oh, I am, communing with my members that way? These are options that are available to us. So it's a choice we have to make. I have made my choice. But it's a choice all of us, It is your responsibility to stay safe, Kojo.
It is, isn't it?
Yes, and so how you stay safe is a choice you have to make.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Now, let's also establish the reality that many people consider a church to be a safe place, a safe haven. We saw in America at the beginning of their lockdown when people were defying it to go to church because that was where they felt safe. Of course, that caused a bit of an increase in the spread of COVID-19, and some churches then had to close down. So, these are all things to weigh. But there are some people who believe that, look, as long as I'm in church, I'm not going to get sick.
You see, Kojo, I know that people believe in that, and I'm not going to sit here and take away that belief and take away their faith and say it doesn't work. The laws of attraction says what you wish is what comes your way. And some have also disputed it. We'll leave it at that.
Right.
But for me, the most important thing is that for all things you look to yourself and decide what works for you. If you think going to church works for you, fantastic. But the church itself has a major role to play. Over here we've seen our engineering team consistently, sanitizing the microphones that after every program they sanitize it and make sure that it's constantly being sanitized. Can the same thing
as soon as you get up from it, they come and sanitize before you even come back and sit down?
Can the same thing be done in the churches. I do not know. They say they are having meetings. The minister in charge of chieftaincy and religious affairs, Kofi Jamesi, will be coming out with, the detailed guidelines. I would want to hear all of these.
Will there be deliverance services? Will they still be able to lay hands on people, or will they wear gloves to do it? There's fascinating dynamics to come. All right, now let's talk a bit about education. We're joined on the phone by Professor Akusia Adomako Ampofo. She's the acting dean of international